Julio Urias pleads no contest to a domestic violence charge. UCLA football launches a charm offensive to rebuild the program, and the Chargers meet with a potential starting wide receiver. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report, and it is May 2nd, 2024. Welcome to the sanctum sanctorum of LA sports, and we have an absolute ton to get to. We have breaking news. We have an expanded scoreboard because of what happened to the Kings yesterday. We are going to be completely informing you, and if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. Love hearing from you. But like I said, even before we get to the news, the scoreboard itself is loaded down. For example, the Oilers eliminated the Kings for a third consecutive year last night, 4-3. And I got to tell you, I think Kings general manager Rob Blake has more to answer to than Darvin Ham does for his coaching job at the Lakers. Now, I've taken some online flack about defending Darvin Ham. But if you think about the Lakers, for example, it took 2 buzzer-beating shots for the defending champion Nuggets to eliminate the Lakers. Then you look at the Kings. 2 years ago, they took the Edmonton Oilers to 7 games in a playoff series. Last year, it was 6. Now it's 5. In other words, the Kings are regressing. And even worse, Blake shredded one of the game's best minor league systems to create salary cap room, which he then completely wasted on a known slacker named Pierre-Luc Dubois. Dubois was chased out of his 2 previous towns, and then he winds up turning the $68 million gift that the Kings dropped into his lap into 40 points, which would have made him the 192nd most dangerous offensive threat in the game. Does that sound like $68 million well spent? As for the playoffs, by the way, Dubois kept slacking off 1 point. Now, what also happened because of this contract, it pushed the Kings right up against the salary cap. So while other teams could make moves at the trade deadline, the Dubois contract handcuffed the Kings into doing nothing. In other words, the Kings may have wanted to improve, but they couldn't while the Oilers could. Fans are so furious, they are suggesting that the Kings have to buy out Dubois' contract. CapFriendly.com states the cost of buying out Pierre-Luc Dubois would be $15.8 million. Paying somebody $16 million to go away. Really? Dubois is literally a human pipe bomb that repeatedly explodes in Rob Blake's hands, like Blake is Wile E. Coyote in a cartoon. And by the way, solving that issue is not the only problem now that the Kings face because of Rob Blake. They have to hire a permanent head coach. They don't have a long-term solution in terms of goaltending. And what about Blake's future himself? The Kings have gone 10 years without winning a single playoff series. Blake has been the GM for 7 of them. And there are people obviously screaming for him to get fired because they don't see this run of mediocrity ever changing. I'm skeptical. Here's why. The Kings are owned by the Anschutz Entertainment Group. It took a 6-month boycott for AEG to change the front office of the LA Galaxy in MLS. Do you anticipate a 6-month fan boycott of the LA Kings? Because I don't. As for the game itself, Adrian Kempe, Blake Lizotte, and Alex Lafayette scored. Kemp was the opposite of Dubois in the sense that he scored 4 times for the Kings. And that's the memo. Now, as for the other games, let's talk about trolling that precedes unfortunate events. Somebody put up a billboard next to Crypto.com Arena advertising how to book flights from Dallas to Cancun, because Cancun is the official site of NBA teams who have given up. Dallas hasn't given up, guys. Matter of fact, they kicked the daylights out of the Clippers last night, 123-93. The Mavericks lead the best-of-7 series 3-2. Paul George and Ivica Zubac led the Clippers with 15 points each. Now, you combine those two, and it still doesn't equal how Luka Doncic scored a game-high 35. Game 6 is Friday over in Dallas. The Clipper season is on the line, possibly without Kawhi Leonard again. And over in Arizona, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 6 shutout innings. He has a current scoreless inning streak of 15 innings. Dodgers 8, Arizona 0. Andy Pajes hit a 2-run home run. There are no games to report about for LA sports today. And thankfully, now we can get to the news. That's how much we had to talk about so far. Free agent pitcher Julio Urias, who spent his entire major league career with the Dodgers until he allegedly got into a physical altercation with his wife, pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor battery charge in connection with that incident that happened outside of LAFC Stadium last summer. Now, the reason that I'm being vague about this, about allegedly getting into a physical altercation, although there is video evidence that definitely suggests that that was Urias and his wife, is because by pleading no contest, you're saying, you know what, I can't prove I didn't do it. Which means he could sue me if I say he did. I don't want to get sued. As for what punishment Urias has to face, he was sentenced to 36 months probation. He has to complete 30 days of community service. He cannot own a weapon. He has to go through a 52-week counseling course. He has to fund domestic violence programs, abide by a protective order against the victim, and then pay her restitution. Which I have to admit, that last part is admittedly weird. Because what does that mean? Does he have to buy his wife a wardrobe or something? Because many of us husbands do have to buy our wife a wardrobe every so often, right? The other 4 charges that were facing Urias were dropped as a result of this plea deal. And look, you could definitely say that this is the justice system protecting the rich again. The rich and famous getting protected. For example, they decided not to charge Urias with felonies despite that videotape. And of course, this isn't the first time that he's got into trouble because he had violated Major League Baseball's domestic violence policy before. So you could say he got off light. We don't necessarily know yet. He got off light in terms of the American justice system because Urias may not be lying down in a cell block tonight. He may not have a cellmate. He may not be putting on the Kool-Aid. But his problems are far from over. Urias also faces a second lengthier suspension from MLB because of this, because he is the first ever player to get to face this discipline twice. He also lost hundreds of millions of dollars because he was scheduled to be a free agent. He was a 27-year-old left-hander who was voted in the top 10 of Cy Young Award voting twice. You think some of these other people got hundreds of millions of dollars. Urias basically just pissed away that much money. Now, that's not getting screwed over. Let me rephrase. That's not getting screwed over. So in other words, if you think the American justice system gave him a slap on the wrist, losing hundreds of millions of dollars and having your career pretty much in flames, you tell me, that seems like a punishment to me. A just punishment. You could even argue that the punishment for Major League Baseball is going to be heavier than that of the court system. Now, I'm not trying to say what Julio Urias actually does deserve. I'm just saying, before we go too crazy and say he's getting a slap on the wrist, let's see what else happens. Because this stuff is not over for him yet. A Fox Sports columnist decided to rank rookies in the majors. Yoshinobu Yamamoto ranks 4th in that ranking with an ERA of less than 2 since that ugly debut over in Korea. His split-fingered fastball has been described as untouchable, but his four-seamer has been quite hittable, so he has improvements to make. Meanwhile, Andy Pajes was given an honorable mention because he didn't start the season in the big leagues, but he has been a blessing to the bottom of the Dodgers lineup. Prior to him showing up, you literally had 4 automatic outs down there. Blake Trinan is allegedly close to returning to the Dodgers, which sounds nice until you realize he's allowed runs in all 3 of his prior rehab appearances. Trinan is one of 3 critical relievers trying to regain their health, along with Brusdar Graterol and Ryan Brazier. The LA Times is also reporting Chris Taylor's extended slump, maybe because he changed his swing in the offseason, and that didn't work. Now he's trying to adjust back. It's going to take time to figure things out, and he will get that time to figure things out because Jason Hayward is nowhere near ready to return yet. We are starting to get some sort of idea as to what Deshaun Foster's approach to recruiting is going to be, as opposed to, say, former UCLA football coach Chip Kelly, who didn't approach it at all. While UCLA has sent offers to more than 70 high schoolers in the class of 2025, Foster said that was not happenstance. It was not just scattershotting a bunch of scholarship offers across the plain. He said he still will see a dozen high school games from a prospect first before deciding to offer. He added the program is also going to broaden their recruiting gaze outside of Southern California. The program will take a national approach. Now, this is in line with what athletic director Martin Jarmond said. He said it was necessary because UCLA is actually a national brand. The Bruins also will host 7 players from out of state soon. Foster said that unlike other schools, he wants to avoid sending offers to junior high kids, which is a relief because that always looks just creepy as hell. We should stop offering scholarships to junior high school kids. A grown man talking about how much he appreciates the athletic ability of a 12 or 13-year-old. Can we not have that anymore in society, please? Just saying. As for NIL, Foster told The Athletic he met with the school's top 8 boosters to show them his vision for the football program, and that as a result, those boosters are stepping up. Now, for his part, Jarmond said when he needed to find Kelly's replacement, he envisioned somebody who could spread the word about the program to both recruits and boosters. But, quote, it's going to take all of us. Make no mistake, he understands that. He can't do this by himself, unquote. ESPN asked itself, who could UCLA use to replace Laiatu Laitu? And as a side note, I'm sure when ESPN asks itself questions, it's in the disembodied voice of Stephen A. Smith, but I digress. Because it's a lousy question to face. They suggested the replacement for Laitu could be Collins Achamapong, who is a freshman. You're trying to tell me you can take the guy who had the most sacks of anybody in the nation and replace him with a freshman. Stop it. You're not making any sense, ESPN. Stop it. Meanwhile, ESPN also reported that former Cincinnati wide receiver Tyler Boyd has visited the Chargers yesterday. Boyd has been very productive as a pro. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons before the Bengals added Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to the wide receiver room. Now, obviously, the Bolts want to do whatever they can to try to fill in the void left by Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. But I would also add, there's another reason that they would be hyped to sign Boyd. And this is a reason they don't want to make public. Adding Boyd would force Quentin Johnston to step up. At this time, considering how many teams, when they go on offense, they put 3 wide receivers out there, at this point, Johnston's a starter. And he had a terrible rookie year. Adding Boyd means Johnston has to work to push himself past either Joshua Palmer or draft pick Ladd McConkey. You got a light of fire under his butt. By the way, rookie minicamp for both the Rams and Chargers comes on the 10th of this month. Off-season workouts for both teams begin on May 20th. Mandatory minicamp opens for the Rams on June 10th and for the Chargers on June 11th. Sparks players opened training camp just a couple of days ago. I mean, hell, the WNBA preseason opens in just a couple of days. The Sparks are talking big about ending the franchise's longest playoff drought, which is 3 years. Derica Hamby suggested with 2 lottery picks that the Sparks will shock a lot of people. Coach Curt Miller was significantly more reserved because with 10 new players, everyone's going to need time to figure it out. He told the LA Times, quote, "It does take a process, but what a foundation we get to start working with 2 lottery picks," unquote. Miller also told the LA Daily News that aside from those 2 lottery picks, which is Cameron Brink and Rakia Jackson, he likes 6'7" Lee Uaru and guard Julie Alamond as potential starters. Those 2 were picked up when the Sparks sent a 3rd lottery pick to Chicago. Now that would leave 1 spot left in the starting lineup, a guard. By the way, we mentioned how the Sparks will open the season at the Long Beach Pyramid. Here is a missed opportunity though. One of those 5 games is going to be against the Indiana Fever, which drafted Iowa's Caitlin Clark. That game is already sold out because the Pyramid has a capacity of 4,000 seats, as opposed to, say, 19,000 over at Crypto.com Arena. And yes, we are your source for all things WNBA. When you think of the WNBA, I'm your simp. Thank you. Forward Berka Buyuktungel has entered the transfer portal from UCLA basketball. It's the last day that players could do so. And I hate to put it like this, but this guy was a case study as to why Bruins basketball stunk up the joint last year. He was a 4-star recruit, which is fine, but he came from Turkey, which is not exactly a basketball hotbed. Look, I'm not trying to sit there and say, oh, we've got to build a big, beautiful wall. I don't know how to do an impression of that guy, but I'm not trying to say that either. I'm saying that last year's team had so many teenagers from so many different countries, speaking so many different languages, and you're trying to teach them how to play at a high level as one unit? Good luck with that. And so this guy struggled to get off the bench despite being a 4-star recruit, allegedly, because he couldn't get with the program because English is not his first language. Now, again, I'm not trying to sit there and be anti-immigrant. I'm saying I am pro-common sense. You can't have all your coaches learning French, Turkish, all these other languages in a month and then communicate it to these players. That's not fair to anybody. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. What would you do with the LA Kings offseason? For that matter, is Julio Urias still getting a slap on the wrist despite the possibility of losing hundreds of millions of dollars and, by the way, the possibility of his career? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We are talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.